But there'd be a way, like, if it flowed naturally and you're just like, are you done talking about NBA, Randy? Because I was about to talk. I feel like I could go into this.
Finally stopped jabbering about some NBA game that none of our listeners are going to care about.
Yeah, put your clipboard away, Randy. Rand Van Gundy. Stan Van Randy.
Stan Van Gundy's hilarious.
He's great. Have you ever seen that clip?
Build a fucking wall.
Yeah, we have to form a fucking wall.
Ron Jeremy looking son of a bitch.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with DJ Mandolini.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Wow.
And Randall Nollery.
Also, thank you for having me, Kevin.
No problem. Yeah, although Randall's not here, I'm not having you here.
You're having
my
me
house.
in audio form,
but
across the Skype waves.
Randall, I think you spotted the big news of the day.
Yeah.
Why don't you take it away?
The Nintendo Switch Lite. So this is something that had been speculated on for a while. There'd been some rumors and some leaks that kind of led people to think this might be brewing, or there's some like manufacturers that had leaked like, oh, here's a grip for this other type of Switch. Oh, it's not going to fit this new Switch. What is that thing? Oh, I bet they're making either a Switch Lite or a Switch Pro, and it ended up being a Switch Lite, which essentially means it is a handheld only device. You cannot detach the Joy-Cons. It's a little bit smaller. Battery life's a little bit better. And it's $100 less. So it's $199 instead of $299. So I think, not to speculate too much, but I think what Nintendo's goal is with something like this is to sell it to younger folks, maybe kind of bring it a little bit more in line with that 3DS price point, where it's kind of a little bit more of an impulse purchase, as much as a $200 purchase can be an impulse purchase, but a little bit cheaper than the regular Switch. What do you guys think?
They look cool for sure. I like the like kind of soft, like pastel.
I do like those
like
colors.
Almost like Easter.
Yeah,
Easter
I
egg
like those colors a lot, actually.
Yeah, they in that regard, like they look cool, you know. But like I was gonna say I want one, but I wouldn't go quite that far. But like and I know you did say portable, or you specified portable only or whatever, but it is like you cannot, not only can you not detach the Joy-Cons, but you can't dock it and play on the TV or anything.
Cannot.
It's like strictly portable only.
Yep.
Just to clarify that, but yeah, it's not something I'm super interested in. I'm not gonna purchase one, but I like you said, I can sort of see the value in it. I saw some people talking about it online or on Twitter and whatever. And I can see like they're trying to get like the people who just buy a 3DS to like play the Pokemon games, or hey, there's a new Pokemon game coming out, and I think there's a new specific
there is
model that's like a gray, and then it has like the blue and the kind of magenta color scheme on the Joy-Cons or whatever, the buttons and whatnot.
I like that. I think that one looks kind of cool too, actually. I like that.
Yeah, they all look cool.
Yeah.
What about you, DJ? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't see myself getting one, but then again, I also don't think that I'm the target for this.
No.
I guess I can't imagine. Well, I mean, I guess you did say that you maybe would be interested, or
like, well, just in the sense like they look cool, but I mean, like, for what it's worth, I mean, like the Switch as it is, and I know they said it's not much smaller, but I mean, like, my hands already cramp up if I'm playing handheld as it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, unless they really design that to be more ergonomic in some way, like I really think there's just not a way that it would be comfortable for me to play.
Yeah. I guess what I was going to say is I can't see anyone who already owns a Switch then opting to get a Switch Lite. Like, I wouldn't see the point in that, I guess.
Think there is a use case for folks. If you're 100% handheld, you're like, when the hell am I ever going to touch the TV with this thing? I could see the use case because it does have a D-pad as opposed to the separated buttons.
I do like that for sure. And I'm hoping that they make... like Hori, that company Hori makes one a Joy-Con, like just the left Joy-Con that has that, but it's not wireless. Like you have to only play it in handheld mode.
That is a bummer,
which is ridiculous.
And
I would probably buy that.
It doesn't have there's no rumble in that Joy-Con, which there's no rumble in the Switch Lite either. Yeah. So
that's
there's
a bummer.
No rumble in that Joy-Con from Hori, and there's no battery in it, so it seeps the battery from the console, whereas the Joy-Cons have their own batteries to help with that battery life. So there's some downsides with that, but it's only like $15-$20, so you can't poke too many holes in it.
Yeah, but a little bit of a bummer, yeah. Go ahead.
I will say, I do think the one case I could see where someone who already owns a Switch would get a Switch Lite is like in the case where you got a family where you got like a couple kids and like maybe you originally wanted each to have their own, but like now you can just like get a Switch Lite for them to, so there's a Switch and a Switch Lite and they can kind of share that. It'll just be a little cheaper.
That's a good point. Yeah.
This is like the 2DS as far as I'm concerned. That's what niche this fills. Like that is for, you get a second one for your kids. It's harder to break because it doesn't have as many like separating parts. It's just one body thing. And it's something that Nintendo could price at $150 in, Black Friday 2020. It'll be like that price point ready to sell.
Yeah. Now, do you guys know, I don't know how much they've said about it. I didn't look that much into it. But like, for the cartridge games, it won't be a problem. But for the digital games, again, if you own a Switch already, are you going to be able to have the same account on both your Switch and your Switch Lite and port those games over? Because if you can't do that, then for me, there's absolutely zero value in that. Because you can't have two Switches and have both accounts sunk up. I don't think.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I know that's not the case you can't do it on 3DS, and you certainly couldn't do it on any handheld previous with them. Not that those had online accounts, but yeah, I'd be very surprised if Nintendo let you log in on more than one Switch with your games.
That's a bummer. That's a huge bummer.
Yeah, that's Nintendo with stuff like that.
Yeah. So for me, if it does not have that feature, then unfortunately for me, it's like a definite not purchase because I have probably 150 plus games, which at least 120 of those are digital.
Sure.
So for me, unfortunately, not a purchase. But again, if just because it's something I'm not going to buy, what do I care? If other people want it and if Nintendo thinks people want it, I hope it works out well for them. So
lets them sell a Switch for $199, and that's a nice entry point for folks. Especially a couple years in with a pretty beefy library at this point. I am curious with both of you guys, like what's your usage as far as handheld versus docked percentage wise?
I play handheld maybe 15% of the time at most.
Yeah.
Just like laying in bed once in a while, like I'm playing a game and I feel like playing a little bit more, but I'm kind of tired.
Yeah.
So I'll just like lay on the couch and I don't know, sometimes, or I want to play like with headphones on or something like that.
Oh, that's true.
But pretty rarely, 10-15% of the time. What about you, Deej?
I used to be pretty heavily, docked only, but I think lately it's kind of gone the other way. I'd say I'm like at least 80%.
Oh, damn.
But like that's just like, I've got my dock set up in my bedroom, but I like to be in the living room more than the bedroom.
Sure.
So I'll just pull it in there. Not like I'm using it like on the go a lot necessarily, but away from the TV. Yes.
Right. So. Right. Moving around in the house, but taking that thing outside, it's still kind of big. So it's like, that's a limiter that way.
Yeah. What about you?
I'd say I'm probably like 70-30, 70% TV, 30% handheld for the same ideas, like, getting tired or whatever else, or like, my wife, Tina, or, Fiona, they're using the TV at the moment. All right, let me just pull it out of the dock and use it handheld to play a little bit more of this game for a second or whatever.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's even times when I just live by myself, but I'd sometimes just like, I'm going to throw on some Star Trek and play, if it's a game I've been playing a bunch of, like Bad North, like we talked about, like, okay, I'm into the repetitive groove of this game. I don't need to be immersed in the experience, entirely. So I can just kind of multitask.
Right.
So that's about the only time I really use it.
Yeah. Nice to have the option, though. I'm definitely stuck on having that option now. I love just, doctor or handheld just that easily as pulling the system out of the dock is great.
Yeah, it pretty much makes me want any game that I can get on the Switch.
Yep.
As opposed to, unless it's something that I know is like kind of a graphical powerhouse, or like, like I know like the Crash Bandicoot HD remasters. Like I know it looks like way better on the PS4.
Right.
So like something like that, because I do have a PS4. So in that regard, I'm typically going to lean towards getting it on the PS4.
Right.
If it's something that truly runs better. But otherwise, like if it's these little indie titles and stuff, I'm always going to go for getting it on the Switch.
Totally. Same exact thought process.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we get into some of the games that we've been playing this week?
Why don't we?
Why don't we do that?
Why do not we do that?
I guess I'll kick things off. Since we can all talk about this game a little bit. I've randomly decided to go back to playing some Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I've played a lot. I've gotten about 80 or 82 shrines, I think. I've played maybe 80, 90, maybe even 100 hours. But I've only beaten one of the divine beasts. And I just kind of like wander around aimlessly when I play the game. I was talking to DJ earlier, like I almost play Breath of the Wild like I used to play Grand Theft Auto 3. It's like a
fuck around.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a sandbox.
It is.
But to use the term that the game is literally, whatever. But I just like to, not even in the case of Breath of the Wild, there's not as much, there's not things to just bazooka and blow, put in the all weapons code and just start blowing up taxis and get the cops on you, the 5-star ranking and start just trying to outrun the cops. Like that's just kind of fun to see how far you can exploit those systems.
There are some equivalents to that in Breath of the Wild, though, where you can get into some situations.
There are for sure, but I've had I have a clip of like I hit one of those skeleton goblins, like I knocked his head off, and then he runs over, grabs the other. There were two of them. He grabs the other skeleton's head, throws it at me, and this is like at the top of a mountain, and then it knocks me off the mountain. I tumble all the way down. It was hilarious. I was cracking up, and I love that Switch feature of just like, give me that 30-second clip. Yeah. So I was able to save that, and I'll post that eventually. Maybe I'll post that little link to that.
I'd like to see that.
But yeah, it's great. There is crazy stuff like that, but you can also play for, a half an hour and just be running and climbing up the side of a mountain and find absolutely nothing,
or find one or two Korok seeds or whatever and just be happy with that.
Yeah, but this game
Speak
is
for yourself.
For me, when I was playing it last, it's been a little while. It's probably been 4 to 6 months since I've played it. And I just kind of play it sporadically. And but I decided like, okay, I'm basically gonna go through the motions. I got the whatever the divine beast is at Death Mountain. I basically went through the motion of like the lead up. It's not a boss battle, but the kind of little like maze thing you have to go through, which is pretty clever and pretty fun. There's like these little sentry flying drones that you have to avoid and keep the your little Goron buddy from.
Forgot about that.
You have to whistle and get him to stop, and it was pretty cool. I like that you get there's all different kinds of ways to blow up the drones or to sneak around them. Or
I did that section last.
It was pretty cool, and I decided, so I set that up and I got to the divine beast, and then I just teleported out of there, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the other two set up. I've beaten the Zora divine beast, but the other 3 I've not, so I'm gonna get all 3 of them set up and just kind of explore around where I haven't been yet, using the hero path, which is something that I will say that should have been included in the game, like in the base game. That should not be. That just seems like a feature that enhances the way you play the game, and to include that as a $20 package DLC deal is to me that's I don't know, that's a big misstep by Nintendo.
Yeah, it's not even just that like having it is so good, it's just not having it is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I would say having that increases your enjoyment of the game because you're able to just be like, okay, I've definitely been over there.
Yeah.
Not guessing.
I agree, but I do like to just open-ended exploration. Like, I'm not staring at a map the whole time. I'm just going to go off in this direction. Instead of with that, I feel like then you're kind of really tied to that map. And you're like, okay, I have to go over here. I always go this way or whatever else. I don't know.
That's a good point. I do look at the map way more ever since I bought that DLC. And I played probably, a good 70, 75 hours of this game without having that. So,
right.
But you're able to kind of see where all the towers are. But once you've kind of unlocked the full map, I feel like you really need that feature.
Yeah.
To be able to feel like you're productively playing the game. Although, again, like I was saying, that doesn't really matter to me with this game because I just kind of enjoy playing it and relaxing, and it's kind of like a stress relieving game for me. It's like the little tinkly piano melodies and the I don't know, even though it can be very difficult at times, like the Lionels and some of the enemies are super tough. But I know we've all played a ton of this game, but I don't know if you guys have played it at all recently, But my thoughts are just like, I'm excited to keep playing some more and get these divine beasts set up and hopefully round off and beat this game eventually. I never really beat Zelda games. I think the only 3D Zelda game I've beaten is Wind Waker. So nice. I play a lot of them, 20, 30 hours, but I never fully close them out. But
yeah, I unfortunately stopped playing decently before the DLC ever came out. And at that point, I was just like, okay, I don't want to go through all these areas where maybe I've been there, maybe I haven't, I don't know.
Well, that DLC was day one, right?
No.
Was it?
No.
Are you sure?
I really don't think so. Otherwise, I would have bought it day one. No, yeah. I think there was a delay on that one where I think it might have been end of the year of that first year, 2017, I want to say.
Maybe you could have.
There were two
purchased it.
There were
maybe
two
it wasn't
patches.
Available.
Like it was like you bought the season pass, and there were two independent patches. But I could have sworn
they weren't day one available.
No, it definitely was not day one.
I could have sworn.
I'll chop this before out. You, man.
Yeah, I had my Switch day one with Zelda.
Okay, yeah, you know what? I didn't have the Switch day one, so that proves the point. Proves me wrong.
Proof's in the pudding.
God damn it. No.
Yeah. So it was just, I guess, a little unfortunate because I probably, got around 100 of the shrines, but, didn't really want to seek out the last, however many, 10 or so that there were.
I think there's 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
but probably if, that DLC was out with that map feature, I probably would have I would have felt like there'd be way less time potentially wasted by going to places that I thought I hadn't been, but turns out I had been. Because I guess maybe I didn't go through the game with necessarily that mindset of oh, this is just how I'm going to, relax for the evening or however long I'm playing this. And I think I did feel like, after you beat the game and you're just searching for shrines, it's I need a podcast or else I can't just be engaged only with this. This isn't enough.
But it's a podcast game for me too. Once I soak in enough of the environment, I've played a lot of the game. I know I don't know. When I'm experiencing a game for the first time, I really want to hear the music and really, just get a feel for what the game is. And sometimes I want to be in that all the time, but sometimes, it's just okay, I get the vibe. And even with Zelda, there's not even much music, so you can really even have the game turned up pretty loud while you're listening to a podcast, which is kind of nice.
Right.
But yeah, what about you, Randy?
To me, the exploration of Breath of the Wild was the game and is the game to me. I was
Same.
Honestly, I kind of forced myself to complete it, and not just because I don't normally complete games, but in this case, I was having such a good time. I had already put 120 plus hours into this thing, and found a lot of the shrines, opened up the whole map. Took my time to even, like you, to even get into the Divine Beast stuff in any meaningful way. I kind of did most of, I grinded for all the upgrade parts with the fairies and stuff for hours and hours just because I was enjoying it. And that's just kind of how I tend to play RPGs and action RPGs anyway. I want to feel a little bit overpowered sometimes with that stuff.
Just start mowing down. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's great. But that being said, I really didn't do much of anything with that DLC. I had played all those hours primarily before the DLC came out. Kind of similar to what DJ was talking about too. But you know, that Champions Ballad DLC stuff that did come out at the end of 2017 has a new dungeon and story and stuff like that. And that master cycle that looks like a horse. So there's stuff to like do that I haven't done. So I'm like, yeah. And I talking to my buddy Brandon, he thought that final dungeon and boss felt a lot more appropriate than some of the dungeons that were already in the core game. Like he felt like it was more I don't know, like meaningful and satisfying to have had that experience in the DLC stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to go back and experience this stuff. I had already bought the DLC. I might as well check it out.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to. I kind of forgot about all the extra stuff they added, like campaign wise. So I'm excited to play through some of that.
Yeah, and I just want the excuse, like what you're doing now. I want the excuse to go back in that world. So
yeah, and you know what made me think of it? There was somebody that posted online. I can't remember where I saw it, but again on Twitter. But somebody posted that they found like what they thought was the Outset Island from Wind Waker.
Oh yeah, they just found that recently.
Yeah, and that caught my eye, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to just check it out in the game for myself. So
yeah,
and it does. I mean, it looks pretty darn close. I don't think Nintendo like said if it was or not or anything like that, but pretty cool that there's just little nuggets like that still being found in like, you know, that's just how much is packed into that game.
So is that I'm kind of curious. Is that the island where they take away all your like armor and weapons and stuff? Am I thinking of the right thing?
It's like it's actually just like the very beginning island, where your grandma's house is. Like it has that big watchtower.
Gotcha.
And the you know, where like your sister's up on that lookout and with the telescope. Yeah, it's pretty spot on. Like there's buildings all in pretty much the same locations and walkways in the same, you know, or paths and whatnot in the same locations. So it was pretty cool that just kind of, there's nothing like, it's not the same people or anything like that, but
yeah,
pretty cool to just check that out real quick. So yeah, that was kind of what sparked me playing, and then I ended up playing for putting most of my gaming time this week into that, to be honest. So
it's worth it.
But yeah, I feel like we can pretty much wrap that up there, and why don't we go into another DJ played another AAA experience, a little Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Oh yeah.
Why don't we go into that if you guys feel good about that?
Yeah, I know practically nothing about this game despite owning it, so tell me about it, DJ.
Well, yeah, because you guys haven't gone through number 4, have you? Or Randy, I think you may have gone through almost
all of it, and I petered out because they put way too much game in that game. They fluffed it out, and I didn't need them to.
Yeah, I've played 1 through 3, but and just a little bit of 4, maybe the first 2-3 hours.
Yeah, well, it's a shame because with Lost Legacy, they kind of reeled it back in and did it right, and it's like an 8-hour game again.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
but it's like it takes place after the events of 4, so it's okay. So I mean, you know, I guess like if that really matters to you, having the full context. Like, I don't know if it's going to be worth going back and playing 4, just reading what happens, but like this was a much better paced game.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of the same mechanics that they introduced in 4, like that hook or whatever they use. There's a lot of that. But
the grappling hook, or did they also use that, like the pick in the side of the mountain type of thing too?
They do. Yeah.
Both? It uses both of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't even know if I got to the pick in Uncharted 4.
Yeah. Well, there's only, I think, 9 chapters in this.
That sounds awesome.
But yeah, it's just a lot denser, which like I agree. Looking back, like I think I didn't have the best experience with Uncharted 4 because it just kind of kept going.
Yeah.
And this one kind of follows the same formula where it's like, you know, they start with this item that's supposed to, you know, lead them along their way, and they go to this one location they think it's at, but it turns out it's at another location. Yeah. But, you know, it's it's a by the numbers, by the, according to like the first 3, not 4, obviously, but I would say I honestly prefer and have always preferred the multiplayer of Uncharted games to the story mode.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. I guess I just way more engaged with the multiplayer aspect. Because I mean, I know like, you're put in these like amazing, beautiful, but also like, I can't believe this is real settings.
Yeah.
In the story modes, like, and you're, going through this basically a movie.
Yep.
But I don't feel as I guess I'll say the word engaged again by what I'm actually doing. Like, there's just so many of those, like, oh, you're at a door and you need to lift it. Mash the triangle button. It's just like,
I know what
off.
you mean. Yeah. Or
and
even
while
like the
someone's
jumping and climbing is like, even if you do fall, you just do it again.
Right.
There's not a lot of punishment for failure.
No,
but
or you
that
get
is
shot
what keeps
like
the
4 or
game
5
chugging
times.
along.
You get shot 4 or 5
like,
times, and then you're just saying like, oh shit,
yeah. Take.
Let me hide behind something for 5 seconds. I'm cool. Let me just brush it
Although
off.
that's in fairness, that's how almost every first and third person shooter, deals with health and life and whatnot. Almost, not every, but almost.
I also pull myself out by like trying to find the collectibles in every area. So I'm running around like an idiot, like a chicken with my head cut off, looking in corners for little emblems that don't do anything besides make a counter go up and show me a shiny thing for a second while Sully's talking about something off in the distance that I'm not paying attention to.
I was going to say with Breath of the Wild, like that was the game that kind of got me off that habit of I got to get every collectible. I got to get every Korok seed, every this, and Uncharted was actually, if I really think back, I think it was Uncharted 2, but it might have been Uncharted 3. It's not like I found them all in Uncharted 1.
Right.
But the little like artifacts that have like, they just have like a little glimmer, a little glint. And then I found one in Uncharted 2 or 3, like up in a tree. You had to like shoot it down.
Oh boy.
And I was like, you have to look fucking everywhere for these. Like, fuck this. Like, I don't care at all. Let's just chug along and blow away some minions.
Well, funny you bring that up, Kevin. There's a side mission kind of in like the first like third of the game where if you complete it, you get this item that will then notify you if you're near a treasure. Like, how like there's sometimes they can like send out audio from your controller.
Yeah.
It's like one of those.
Okay.
Just like the Korok seeds.
So it does like make that aspect a little less like I have to look everywhere if you are in fact, concerned with, collecting all the artifacts. They do make it easier.
Cool. That definitely is a welcome addition for sure.
Yeah. But
I mean, and for what it's worth, I haven't played the Uncharted 4 multiplayer, which is cool. I don't know if you mentioned, but it is DJ said it's just, we were talking earlier, and it is just the Uncharted 4 multiplayer in this Lost Legacy. So either one, they're like you're connected to the same online experience.
I booted it up and I was where I had left off with Uncharted 4.
Oh wow!
Online,
oh geez,
which was nice because I sold my copy to Kevin and was like, "Man, I'm gonna miss the multiplayer, and you can keep that game."
You made the right choice selling that to Kevin. Nice job.
Yep.
Yeah, he had the steel. He had the steel book. I couldn't resist. That Nathan Drake steel jaw.
Oh boy. So I never played the multiplayer. Is it just like team-based cover shooter type of idea?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, they're different, game modes, not just like deathmatch, but like King of the Hill and etc. But
pretty I think standard fare. I've played the Uncharted 3 multiplayer, which is DJ was saying there are a lot of new additions to the multiplayer since then. We played a lot together when we used to live together a few years ago.
It is decently different, like because they do incorporate like the hook shot or whatever and stuff like that. So. And like a bunch of different like power-ups like that you can purchase mid-game based on like how you're doing in the game. that have different benefits. Like you can have like these CPU sidekicks that'll aid you in one way. Like, you know, they might toss you some ammo or go after an enemy, you know, in the distance.
Okay.
And you got really into The Last of Us multiplayer as well, didn't you?
I did. And I
Not to go super into
love
that
The Last
and
of
go
Us.
off the rails.
Well, I similarly much prefer the multiplayer than the story of
That's
The
very
Last of
interesting
Us.
because I definitely feel like those are, to most people, those are just tacked on modes in the
I
game.
love them.
You know, but I feel, you know what I mean? Like the games are sold as like these story-driven movie experiences.
Yeah, to me
you know?
that emphasizes
Same.
like the part of the gameplay that I think is the weakest link. That is like the shooting scenarios. Like,
See,
I don't have as much fun in those.
I find those to be pretty fun. Again, I haven't played 4 much, and I think we should specify the story in Uncharted Lost Legacy is kind of like a spin-off that features Chloe as your playable character.
Okay.
Who features, I think, in Uncharted 2 or 3 or maybe both. And then there's, I forget what the other character's name is, but she has like another
Nadine Ross.
There you go. So it's sort of like even though it's after the events of Uncharted 4, I don't think Nathan Drake even comes into play. So
That's kind of cool.
Kind of cool that it's
Yeah.
a totally separate experience. So even though you're saying, DJ, it takes place after the fact, if you're not worried about spoilers for the previous game, it probably doesn't matter if you just jump in and start with this game.
Not so much, no.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to play like an Uncharted 4 production level experience, but you know, I think this was originally just supposed to be a DLC for Uncharted 4, and then they decided like, hey, let's like we got a lot of ideas here. Let's make this into a full like. I don't think it was a full price game.
Yeah,
it was
I
like
don't think
30
they
or
priced
40
it at
bucks.
60.
No, I think it
Yeah,
was 40.
Yeah,
Which is interesting because it's essentially Uncharted 1, like in terms
Yeah.
of, you know, how big of a single player they had. So
yeah.
it's
But
like-
once you've done Uncharted 4, that's like a 30-hour
Yeah.
campaign or whatever. It's like, hey, you got to sell this as a smaller. And I think everybody knew it was originally a DLC. Was how it's, you know, started as an idea. So
And Uncharted was kind of petering out at that point, so I think it helps to come in at a little more budget price point for something like that to get people on board again.
fair enough.
yeah,
I'm definitely curious about playing this now, though. Just the fact that it's concise, 8-hour. They know what they wanted out of this game, and they just told their story. Like, okay, I'm in. I want to play it.
Well, I hope you play it and then go online. Play
Yeah,
the
maybe I
real
will,
game.
Just to
hey, we
see what
could
that's
all play
about.
online together. I don't have Lost Legacy, but I have 4.
That is cool that you can do that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should try to play sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do doubles way back in the day. Like you could, you know, do 2v2v2v2.
Oh wow.
And so that's what we would do when we lived together, just a bunch of those matches. And yeah, we sunk a lot of time.
Oh yeah, suck a lot of time into that couch. But anyways, why don't we just knock out another AAA experience and Randall, I know you said you were playing some NBA 2K19.
Oh yeah, I'm back on my bullshit. I'm playing playing more NBA, and again, to give the context, I probably put like, oh boy, I probably put like 140 hours into NBA 2K18, which is just insane. But I did.
Sickening, not insane.
In just one mode. Like there's multiple fully fleshed gameplay modes, and that was basically just one mode. That was in that game. It was the my team mode that I put that much time into, and in this game, I just started playing the my GM mode because I've always had a soft spot for kind of like the team control stuff, and really that's kind of what I got into it with my team as well. But that was more like player card and like retro player focused experience, where this is more all right. You're taking the modern 2018-2019 Detroit Pistons roster, and you're starting at the beginning of the offseason, and your owner sits you down as the new GM and he says, listen, we got one too many shooting guards. I want you to do something about that. Trade one away. I want the morale of the team to be high, so do what you need to do to make sure that happens and treat them well. And you know, I want to make sure we make the playoffs this year. We didn't make the playoffs last year, so do what you got to do. So from there, it kind of gives you these like performance measures you need to hit as the new GM. with a lot of different pieces in play, but your main focus is your roster. Like, how do you make your roster better? And then you can choose, like, you can actually play those games yourself, because NBA 2K is at its core a very good basketball sim. Or you can just simulate those games, see what the score ends up being based on, the random counters that happen with the stats that your players have. But I like to play it, so I've been playing the games, but I've only played a couple because I've spent most of the time just tinkering with my team, making trades, trying to make those Pistons a playoff-bound team.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, they're in cap hell, so I had to do some roster moves to build around my man Blake Griffin. Trade away some of my top draft picks for future years, along with some crappy players to sweeten the deal to get a better player that could actually start and give positive minutes. But it's crazy, the level of detail. And
I was just gonna say, this sounds like a little overwhelming, pretty intense.
I'll pull back the curtain and tell you that, like, I'm basically a financial analyst at my job. So, like, this is kind of like scratching that itch in like I've always been someone that's followed basketball, but the basketball offseason just happened and was like all over social media the last week or two with free agency. So that also kind of pushed me in this direction. But I'm like, yeah, let me check that out, because I haven't tried one of these modes in probably a decade, honestly. And I'm like, oh boy, this is a rabbit hole here. Like, I could really get into this, like managing a salary cap and figuring out who am I going to draft next and what position, and do I want to move the whole team to Seattle and restart the Supersonics, or you can do all kinds of different stuff. So I'm pretty
That's cool, yeah. That's cool, especially as I'm a casual basketball fan. I enjoy the game, but I don't follow it regularly or anything like that. But
yeah,
definitely sounds like when I was the most into sports was when me and my brother growing up would play Madden, or we'd play NHL, whatever the hell sports game was we had. We just played all of them pretty much. I never got into any of the baseball games, but I'm not a big baseball fan.
Neither.
But that was when I was the most into watching sports, because I knew all the players on all the team. I was just like kind of immersed in those worlds even more so.
Oh yeah.
Because I was playing those games all the time. So
absolutely.
I did pick up NBA 2K19 on that $3 sale during the finals. So
hell yeah.
I should play it a little more. I've given it a try and it's fucking impossible. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like, how easy is it for someone like me who doesn't have experience with basketball games to pick this up?
I mean, like, because there's just a normal, you just play basketball too.
So,
but it's pretty simple. It's not just like NBA Jam simple. No. It's like you got to have perfect timing on these shots.
Yes. Yeah, well, like 2K16, I think, was a PS Plus free game way back when, and I think I tried hopping in on that, but like it didn't really do anything to teach me how to play.
Oh, no.
So I was just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Oh no.
Like, does 2K...
There's
18.
a tutorial.
Yeah,
for sure, 19,
they've definitely done a lot to flesh out the tutorial stuff.
Okay.
And there's like story mode stuff with, like, you could do a thing where you are just a player starting up in like the minorest of minor leagues, and that'll kind of along the way teach you how to play the game as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you can go about it that aren't quite as intimidating as what I'm talking about.
Nice. Well, and with the GM mode, like, as you're going through the season, could you just be at a point where you're just like, I'm fucked, like I can't do anything, I have to start over?
Yeah, yeah. If you've lost enough games, and it's pretty obvious you're not going to make the playoffs. I hopefully won't get to that point, but the owner of the team could, I don't know, fire me or do all kinds of drastic things, take control away from me. I think things would probably go bad.
So are you like kind of going through? Are you going through like all 81 games?
82 games. Thank you.
Sorry.
And can you play? Do you play the games as well, or are you just managing the back end?
You can do both. I've been playing the games so far just because I enjoy that.
That's cool. Yeah, I could see myself getting more immersed in that back end stuff if I'm playing the games. Because I know there's like Football Manager and stuff like that, and that's like strictly like you're just the manager of a soccer team. And I don't think you play the games or anything like that.
No,
so
I'm the type that wants to play out like the fruits of my labor. Like, I'm excited. I just traded for this guy. I want to see how he fits. Like, I just got this,
Can
Covington.
he dunk from the free throw line?
Defensive specialist. Let me start him. Like, oh yeah, like he's stealing the ball like crazy. This guy's sweet. Like, so yeah, I'm into both sides of it that way. And
Cool,
for $3, it's a freaking steal.
Yeah, that was almost a no-brainer for me.
Yeah,
Sounds like it's a pretty hefty time commitment.
it is.
But that's if you want to get into that. You could totally just play exhibition games, and you could be a 4-player, just hanging out with some friends. Not quite as easy to pick up as something like a Mario sports game or something like that, but simple enough to if people are familiar with video games and sports games in particular, they could probably get into it pretty quickly.
And there's multiple modes. Like there's like a 3-on-3 street ball mode that's a little bit more. It still has the mechanics of the more simulated version, but it is a little bit more kind of like the NBA Jam, NBA Street type of feel to it comparatively. There's a lot of different ways you can play this game. A lot of modes.
Oh yeah, it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
When I was breezing through the options, I was like, what mode is the normal mode?
What gives me the credits? Yeah, that'd be just like what I'd be concerned about, like wrongfully so. Like I should just be focused on whatever I'd have fun with. But it's like, no, like I gotta beat the game. Like, okay.
There's multiple ways you could beat this game for what it's worth. Like multiple full out.
Then I'd have to do all those ways.
Oh god,
I'd have to do it all.
Got to see all the multiple.
I need to fucking stop with all that.
I got to see the multiple endings.
A issue at that point.
Yeah, it's a me issue.
Well, any other thoughts on NBA 2K19, Randall?
I'm gonna keep my bullshit going with this for sure. Yeah, I'm into it. I'm having a good time, and this mode so far has been free of the gross microtransaction stuff that a lot of people complain about this game. So I'm also happy about that.
Nice. Well, from regular sports, I guess, to extreme sports.
What a transition!
That's what I'm talking
We got
about.
a professional.
Extreme transition.
I've been playing some OlliOlli Switch Stance. That's spelled OLLI.
I thought you were gonna spell out Switch.
But yeah, not the full word Ollie, and that's all one word. And that this has the original OlliOlli game, and then OlliOlli 2, which is I think the subtitle is like Welcome to Ollywood or something like that.
Not too happy about that.
Just
could be better.
Pretty cheap pun for sure. But definitely I've played the OlliOlli 2. I played a little bit on the PS4, and when I saw that this version that had both games, I never played the original, was coming out on the Switch for $15. I was like, you know what? I'd never finished playing through 2. It seems like a perfect game to like lay in bed and play a few levels, and it's almost like plays like an auto runner. Auto runner meets like a 2D side scrolling perspective Tony Hawk game, but with the controls of the skate games. If you ever played those, where you're using the joystick to like kind of flick around in different directions, almost like in different like Street Fighter movements. Or like fighting game, like little patterns or little half circles on the joystick to do tricks,
right?
And then you can land grinds, and like you essentially get to the point where you can like string combos together through the whole level. And OlliOlli 2 adds in the manual, which the original game did not have, unfortunately. But that really lets you string together your combos, from start to finish in almost every level. If you're able to kind of perfect the right path to take. And there's kind of not multiple paths in a ton of levels, but you can take like the higher, there's a bunch of rails you can grind. You can take the higher path or the lower path.
Oh, that's cool.
And there'll be each level has 5 different challenges that are in both games that are like either just high score based or complete the level without doing any like push-offs or without doing or doing certain tricks or something like that, or clearing this gap or finding the hidden tape. They're not hidden tapes, but the different hidden collectibles in the level, or grind all these specific rails. Obviously, I can just keep going on and on. But it's just a really fun, really fluid experience. I really have to say that I prefer OlliOlli 2, almost just because of that manual feature. Again, since I had played that first,
it does break it open, and that's how I felt about playing whatever it was, Tony Hawk 2 or 3 that added the manual and broke.
Yeah, I forgot that. I forgot that didn't have that in the original game. That's right.
Yep.
But yeah, it just really lets you feel like a badass, just like, I string it. And if you land a grind perfectly, you pick up a little bit of speed, and it's all, how you land each trick is, affects your score. And each level has leaderboards, and then if you, you can just go online and check where your score ranks in. And then there's different, if you complete all 5 challenges on each level, it unlocks like a pro stage version of that level, I guess. So there's kind of twice as many levels. I didn't quite get through to that. I did play through the full like normal campaign, but I did not get all the challenges and everything. And then they even have I don't know if this was in the original game. I don't recall it being there, but maybe I just didn't play that part of it. But they're called spots, which is almost like just like a real quick chunk of a level, or maybe it's not even part of that level, but just like a little, you just get one combo and it's like a high score like leaderboard challenge, but it's just like one little spot of like, oh, here's like 3 rails that you can string together in a manual, and then like a big ramp at the end. And it's just like same deal with the leaderboards, you're just going for a high score, but it can get a little bit complicated. Like I have a hard time doing like, you can switch your stance and you can do like twists in midair and all this crazy stuff to really rack up the score. Yeah. And that gets a little bit too much for me, or at least like when the challenges are to like do a backside shove it into a board slide, like these specific trick movements is just like, even though it tells, you can go to the Trictionary and figure out how to do each move, but it's a little tough to do like in the moment, because the levels are very tough. I mean, again, not to just always make this comparison, but I mean, it gets to like not quite Super Meat Boy levels, but it's like it's in that vein of like, I was just sitting there just constantly muttering, "You motherfucker!" Oh, God. So it's definitely one of those like give it one more run kind of games. So I've just like was really happy to go back to this one and play some more. I really love it. And again, if you haven't played it, which there apparently aren't too many people, I was checking the leaderboards and like I was coming in around like in the low hundreds on the leaderboards, Jeez. But it looked like there was only about like just shy of 3,000 or in the 2,000s of people on the leaderboards. So
it must be limited.
It doesn't seem like there's too many people.
Point, you would think.
Yeah, right? Yeah, but unfortunately, I hope more people find out about this game, because it's, if that's the case, because this game is really a ton of fun if you're into that sort of thing. So anyone else have any thoughts? I guess it sounds like you've both played it. I know DJ's played it some. Yeah, too.
I mean, you're the one that introduced me to this back like on the PS4. But yeah, this game's a lot of fun, and if I recall correctly, the soundtrack is
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like real chill, like kind of hip hop, electronic chiptunesy vibes. Not super chiptuney actually. And you can even on the Switch version, I don't know if the other ones like that, but you can just flick the right stick to the right and skip the track. So if you're it's really cool. It's like each level, like the songs just keep playing, and it's really like this kind of cohesive experience. Takes a little getting used to. You can't remap any of the buttons, which is always a gripe of mine, especially in something like this that's really like twitchy. It's like sometimes the way they have it laid out just doesn't feel natural. But I kind of get it when you're using the joystick and all these specific movements. You're kind of stuck with that if that's the choice you make.
Right.
But yeah, the soundtrack is really great. Just like chill. Yeah, really chill. Perfect game to just kind of relax to, even though it gets challenging, but again, it helps you get in that zen state. I love it.
I've got this one getting covered in digital dust on my Wii U. I need to blow that dust back off and give this another go, I think.
And you're saying the original or the sequel?
Just the original, I think.
Okay, well, you were just saying you got the Wii U all hooked up again.
I do.
So just another reason to play something on there.
Yeah, there's no barriers now. I could just start it up.
Well, anyone else have anything they want to add to OlliOlli?
I think you nailed it. You nailed that trick.
There you go.
Cool.
If you weren't going to say it, I was.
Nice. Well, let's stick in the sports world for just a little bit longer, although it's a little bit abstracted. But Randall's been getting into some Pato Box.
Pato Box. Yes.
Yeah. Take it away.
Pato Box is definitely, it's an indie game, definitely inspired by Punch Out and Super Punch Out, but different in a vast number of ways, I would say. You are playing Pato Box, who is a duck that boxes, and
a humanoid duck.
Humanoid duck, yes, because he needs to be able to wear his boxing gloves and punch at things to interact with them. Well, and he's very muscular, so yeah, definitely humanoid. But yeah, it's like this crazy story where you were, you need to get revenge on this evil corporation, Death Flock, that has like left you, abandoned for dead, basically. Like they, I can't remember the exact way that story went, but you're pissed and you're going to take it out on all these folks in the corporation that all have unique characterizations. One's kind of like a weird swamp character who wears like a gas mask all the time. One's this kind of security trainer lady who has like a robot leg. So they've got all kinds of like Super Punch Out and Punch Out. There's all kinds of crazy personas with their own unique capabilities. But this game looks awesome. It's like this graphic novel style, like black and white. They did a great job with the presentation in that way. And the soundtrack is this kind of really interesting, moody synth soundtrack that I think definitely fits the game pretty well. I was definitely into those pieces of it for sure.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that, because sometimes those graphic novel things can be like that over the top, like almost like metal guitars and stuff like that. Like it can be kind of grating. So I'm kind of happy to hear that that's the tone.
Yeah, no, thankfully they didn't go that route, because that's a little too aggressive bro-y for me to kind of go along with. So thankfully that was not the case. But I'm glad I own it, but I do have some issues or some hiccups as far as I'm concerned with how it played. It's not just like Punch Out. In Punch Out, you just have the battles where, you are your character on kind of that like 2D, quasi 2D plane where you're just kind of using your different arms to, punch, high punch or low punch or a block, or, you're juking from one side to another. And that gameplay does exist against the bosses, but there's also these like levels. So what you're doing is you're going in this Death Flock mansion, and each floor is a different level that's associated with one of the boss characters. And you need to walk around in that mode as Pato Box and find the 5 switches in a given level, or make your way through this maze, or turn off all of the electrical grid things so you can get through to the next section. But the perspective's kind of weird, because it keeps you in that same kind of 2D thing, and you're walking around a 3D world and having to use that right analog stick. It's kind of hard to figure out your depth perception on things you're supposed to punch as you're walking around. So that took a lot of getting used to, and I never felt like I quite got comfortable with that. It's almost kind of hard to explain unless you play it. Because
I know what you mean, though, when you just feel like you're like not getting it. That's always a frustrating feeling.
Yeah, like I'm walking around and I'm not close enough, and then like it wants me to use the right analog stick to move the camera around, but that takes my thumb off of the main 2 action punching buttons, even though there's things I need to punch pretty quickly. So that's kind of a weird choice when the triggers are right there and they're not used for anything.
I was just gonna say, that's a weird choice.
And
you can't remap it all.
No,
but not yet another game. That's like the ultimate sin to me.
Yeah,
like depending, there's a few exceptions, but like just give the option. If people want to change it, just let them change it.
Yep. If that's like core to your design development process, that like you nailed the controls and you want them to be the certain way, I understand. But I think this is more a case where it came out on PC first, and I can see in my head how that makes way more sense with mouse and keyboard. But when you switch over to just like you're holding a controller in your hands, it doesn't work quite as well. What else do I want to talk about? There's a lot of dialogue and it's okay. Like, it's ambitious. Like, I'm glad I'm glad they tried to add a story and kind of push you forward that way. But I think it's a lot of talking without a lot of substance necessarily. So I wasn't super into that. And even in the boss battles themselves, like, once you know what to expect, they can be fun in that very challenging, difficult way. But I found myself getting frustrated because I was spending a ton of time just getting to those bosses in the first place. And then once I'm there, maybe I'm a little too tired and I'm not, super in the zone like I need to be to complete these super difficult boss battles. And then I keep losing. And it's not forgiving enough to give you too many openings or start you at the second section or third section of this multi-tiered boss battle. It's throwing you all the way back at the beginning every time. So, and if you lose too many times, then you get to be towards the beginning of the level too. So, or at the very least, yeah. And I definitely was like, I rage quit one time and I'm like, I'm just going to play something different. But I was at the boss battle. So I'm like, okay, next time I go into this, I'll be at the boss battle again. Nope. The save point was at the beginning of the level. I'm like, oh, God. Okay.
That sucks. Yeah. That's a pain.
Okay. How long are these levels and how long are these boss fights?
The boss, so you're never going to beat a boss fight on the first try. But, there's some, I've talked about this before with some other games, but there's a bit of rote memorization happening, which you could make the same argument about, punch out battles, especially some of the later ones.
For sure, yeah.
But I felt like your ability to be creative with how you're interacting with those boss battles was a little bit limited to very specific windows. They are there, but it's pretty unforgiving. It's a difficult game, which, I'm sure a lot of people are into, but I wasn't. So the boss battle, if you're doing everything right and you're hitting your marks, you could probably do it in less than 5 minutes. But if you're not and you're taking damage, which it's kind of hard to tell how much damage you've taken, it only shows like on your body as a visual indicator. There's not a meter or anything. And if you don't take damage for a while, you recover that, but that could make those boss battles last longer where you get to that final round and then you still get knocked out because there's new actions and patterns that you haven't seen yet. So yeah, you're definitely going to be fighting each boss at least, I would say, 3 times to beat them. Just based on knowing what to expect. And then the levels longer than that, I would say. I think each level, at least probably 20, 30 minutes to get to the boss.
Okay.
So you're spending a good chunk of time doing a thing that I think is not necessarily the core strength of the game in those level areas. But I get why they did it. They wanted to try something different. And on some areas,
to expand the idea of Punch Out a little bit beyond just the battles,
Yeah, and they made some really cool looking like sets for this, like the graphic novel design definitely, looks great in those.
It's a striking game, no doubt about that.
Very striking, but it's just not a core strength of that format to me. So, still, it's such a unique, weird game. I'm glad that I own it, and it does have those strengths in the presentation department, but I can't wholeheartedly recommend it.
Fair enough. Well, DJ, I know you've been playing a couple of kind of retro-inspired platformers. There's no transition.
I was thinking of one, like, speaking of visual aspects.
Speaking of visuals, well,
I think
take it away.
Last episode, I mentioned that I was beginning The Messenger, which is like a Ninja Gaiden-esque 2D action platform game. Definitely a lot more focus on the platforming aspects than the action, which is not what I expected, but I'm getting really into.
Ooh.
Like I'm almost like I'm getting feeling similar to when I was playing Celeste, actually. Not quite to that level, because Celeste is a masterpiece.
Speak for yourself.
But
I do like that game.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
But what's cool about The Messenger is you get to a point in the game and you start out with more or less like 8-bitty NES style graphics, and you get to a point where you get sent in the future, and like that changes the look of the whole game to more like 16-bit Super Nintendo-y kind of graphics. And as you're like going through the levels, you know, you'll go through levels you had gone through before in the past, but like, you know, they'll be a little different now. And so there will be like some portals throughout the level that will let you shift between the two like time frames
within the level.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Jeez.
So there will be, you know, a portal that shifts things. You know, you're going through 16-bit. There'll be a portal that shoots you into the past, and like maybe the map changes a little different. Like maybe there's an opening where there wasn't one in the other version. So
okay,
there is kind of like a small amount of, you know, puzzle solving, I guess.
Almost like that, like Guacamelee, like transferring between the two worlds. Like you don't have control over it. I don't. Have you ever played Guacamelee?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? There's like the world of the living and the dead, and you can kind of switch bit. That's with like the push of a button. I think this is like you're going through portals that are already kind of predetermined.
Right. The portals are right,
but same concept of like different layouts, but same general.
Yeah, and I've only like gotten a little bit into that aspect of the game, so I don't know, you know, what all it has or like how that's going to be utilized. But
I was going to say, do you know if you have different abilities when you're in the 16-bit
so far
world?
Like the play, like you yourself do not change.
Okay.
So, but you know, like they, you know, throughout the first levels, they, you know, do give you new mechanics. Like you get a wall crawl or wall jump, I guess. You get like a wingsuit so you can glide. You get like kind of a hook shot to kind of make it so you can hook. Obviously, I don't know why I was going to start explaining a fucking hook shot.
So you can use those mechanics in both modes, though, when you get them.
Yep.
Okay.
That's cool because I mean, so again, like I guess not to undermine what you were saying before, but like I feel like to call this game just like a Ninja Gaiden clone or a Ninja Gaiden alike is kind of selling it short. To kind of. You know, the fact that there's all these different abilities and like actual like things that change the way you platform. And I know there's like I haven't played this game at all, but like I believe the way you like double jump, you have to like attack something or attack like a lantern or
as long as you strike something, you get another jump. So
that's kind of cool.
You can keep that going like more than once. So.
Like as many times midair.
Yeah, as long as you keep hitting something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not just swinging it, you have to make contact.
Yes.
You can't just swing and then do another jump.
You have to hit something.
That's cool.
That's cool, though. So, like, yeah, it just adds to a more, like, platform-heavy experience. Not that Ninja Gaiden doesn't have that, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I had always viewed Ninja Gaiden more based on, like, the action than the platforming, and this is definitely way more platforming than I expected, and I'm really digging it, as it just turns out.
And how's it structured? Is it, like, levels?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess this isn't a spoiler.
Well,
like,
just in case. Spoiler, just in case.
Potential spoiler. Like, so in the first part of the game, like when you're in, I guess, I don't know, the present or the past or whatever, you're just going through a linear level with boss fights at the end. And now I've just gotten to a part where I'm accessing the future. And so now I can go back through these levels, and they now will have these portals that, you know, allow you to jump between times. But, you know, some areas that I previously wasn't able to access are now like open because like maybe in this level I didn't have the wingsuit yet or something like that. Like,
okay.
And now I'm back in there.
Okay.
And like there's certain items you're looking for and stuff like that. So it becomes more open worldy, I guess.
Metroidy almost.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah. And also like this is just a personal thing. Like I love the dry, self-aware humor that like the shopkeeper has. Like he's the main person you interact with in the game. But I don't know, just like that's just a small personal touch that I appreciate. Just like like they'll just be very self-aware that it's like a game like, oh, that's such a long description. How does it fit in a dialogue box or something like that?
What does he sell you? Just like life or heart containers and stuff like that?
So you get like upgrades for your like abilities, like
okay.
Like, oh god, what are they? I've gotten like all of them. I'm trying to remember what I bought. Like little things like while you're, gliding in your wingsuit, you can do like a downward slash or something like that. Or there are health upgrades. But also like, when you respawn from a checkpoint, like you don't start with full health, but like you can upgrade so that you start out with more health or stuff like that.
Okay.
Now that the game has kind of expanded and like I'm able to access both time periods, like I'm able to get now these upgrades that kind of affect the map that I'm able to use, like, and so it'll be like, oh, like you buy this and you can see like all the places where the time portals are, like you can see where these optional items are stored or stuff like that.
Nice.
So just little tweaks, and I guess they do a good enough job of like making it so you can't really milk it too much or like farm too much when you die. Like there's this little demon who if you die, it's like he technically saves you and takes you back to the checkpoint, but for the next however long, like you have to give him all the money you collect, so you're not just stacking money on top of what you've already gotten when you die. Like you do have to like pay him off. So
okay,
there's not really a farming aspect to the game that I've noticed, which I also appreciate. So
makes sense. Every run a little bit more meaningful that way.
Yeah, and that one thing that's cool is like I think that 16-bit aspect of this game. I think this game was a Kickstarter game, and I think that was like a stretch goal that they had. But they've also added a couple for a game that's kind of like an experience. It's not like a roguelike that has all these extra, you can just kind of keep patching it or whatever. But they've already come out with one update, and then as of tomorrow, July 11th, or yesterday, probably by the time we release this podcast, there's another update coming out with another new little like small batch of levels, or maybe it's just like one level. But cool that they're like extending the life of this game. Like if you enjoyed what you had, they've released another 2 little mini campaigns. I don't know how they're connected to the story or how they're connected to the game in any capacity, but I just know that they've continued to support this game for a game that doesn't typically get that kind of support. So
right,
pretty cool.
Well, I'm pumped to keep going, and I'll keep you posted.
Please do.
Nice. Well, why don't you talk about that last game you had on the list?
Oh,
DJ?
You mean Ink? So yeah, Ink is a Super Meat Boy-esque game where you're like this.
God, we use that comparison. I use it more guiltily than everybody else. But yeah, we gotta come up with a different way.
Yeah,
hardcore platformer.
Yeah, where like levels are like 30 seconds long or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in this game, you're basically like, I think like a little white sponge. But you're this little white cube, and you need to get to the goal. But the thing is, you can't see any of the platforms. You're on the screen and everything's black except for you and the goal. And like maybe there's some turrets or something, but like all the platforms themselves aren't visible.
And the walls and everything, right? Like everything is invisible.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So you get a double jump, and when you do your double jump, you shoot out ink. And if that hits a platform, it sticks there, so you can then kind of see where the platforms are by jumping around and everything. And so it's kind of about just like using that mechanic to discover what the layout of the level is and then go about doing whatever platforming you need to do. Like, really, you just have that double jump and you have a wall jump, and so it's basically just using just those mechanics.
Oh, wow.
So it's really about like what they introduce to the level. Like, they'll introduce turrets that'll shoot at you. Like, some will just shoot in a straight line, some will do like homing missiles and stuff like that. Like, they'll introduce moving platforms at one point, which is a little, not expected. But I don't know. It feels like Meat Boy, maybe a little slower. But I don't know. I'd say one thing I like is that it doesn't like it's not like, oh, like you need to get through the level in this amount of time to achieve this. There's no tracking of time. So you can go about the level at your own leisure. And
I feel like you have to.
I gotta get that A+.
Platform. It needs to be a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I've also not played this game, but I believe, doesn't it keep like?
I was just gonna say, any when you die, it keeps any ink that had already been on the map, so you don't have to like re-ink everything.
So almost like the blood in Super Meat
like
Boy
you
that
also
just
like
stays
shoot
splattered.
out more ink if you die, so it does become like even clearer.
That's kind of a cool mechanic too, though.
So I guess, does it then do some of the levels eventually get to the point of being too easy because you've played them so much, like you can just see everything, or is the platforming still challenging enough?
Is still challenging enough. Yeah.
Okay.
It's well, especially when it gets to like the levels where you got these turrets where like the bullets kind of like heat seek.
Yeah.
So
that's good to know, because when I saw that the ink stays on the level after you've died, I was like, well, is that going to mess with the difficulty curve a little too much? Like, is it going to make these levels too easy?
No.
If you just play them enough, if you just bash your head against them?
No, the difficulty isn't really with the uncovering the map. That's just like, I don't know, that's just like a cute thing you do.
Okay, well, does it feel tedious then to like have to start out each level with this like exploratory, or does that feel like, hey, this is a cool little twist on the platforming, 2D platformer?
I didn't feel it was tedious because like these levels like are maybe, I don't know, like, well, assuming you go through without dying, you do them within a minute. Like, they're pretty bite sized, and there's like 75 of them, I think. But I was able to beat the game within like 2 hours. So
wow, nice.
So and this is one that goes on sale on the Switch, and I think PS4 and other platforms all the time for like $2.50, $3.
Yeah.
So I've not played it myself, but
it's a nice bite size. Yeah, I guess a more relaxed Super Meat Boy. So I had a pretty good time with it.
I have played the same developer also made a game called Hacky Zack, which is all one word, which is I think they a lot of times also have like a bundle that has called like the Digerati or Digerati, however you say that, indie bundle, and it has those two games, and a lot of times will be on sale for like $3. And I haven't played a ton of it, but it has like a charming pixel art style. It's really hard though, like you're doing like Super Meat Boy-esque platforming, but also like juggling a hacky sack ball in the air at the same time, and that you have to like kick using like twin stick controls. Or just like, or just using the main joystick to aim and kick, but it's just so hard, like almost not fun hard. I need to put some more time into it, but clever design for sure. A very interesting idea, but just super tough, but worth checking out, especially for that cheap price.
The one disappointment I had with Ink is, there are actually like some like hidden coins or whatever that you can get in the levels. And, I after I beat the game, I wanted to go back through all the levels, make sure I just got everything. But it makes you just start from the first level. You can't pick what level you want to do. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Oh, that's annoying for sure.
Yeah. So maybe not the most replay value.
That's too bad.
But
yeah. That's a bummer for sure.
Yeah.
But
still, like, 75 levels in like 2 hours is pretty good.
Yeah. If you're into that sort of game, for sure. Well, cool. That pretty much wraps up all the games we've been playing this week. again, the game for this month is the month of July is going to be Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually going to hopefully bring our buddy John onto the podcast to talk that. He's also been playing a lot of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is the game that kind of got everything started with that, I guess, franchise now.
Yeah, yeah, all of a sudden.
But yeah, we'll be talking about that this week. I know you guys started up a little bit. I haven't put any time into it yet, but any initial thoughts or anything? Or
I'm pumped to keep playing it.
Yeah, I'm pumped to get into it. I haven't, like I think I said before, I haven't played much of those NES style Castlevania games, so I'm excited to give this one a try. And I'm always a sucker for swapping out characters or power ups or abilities or whatever. So this one's right up my alley.
Yeah, I did plow through it, but I will definitely be going through a couple more times closer to our discussion for a little refresher. So
good deal.
I've got my thoughts, and you're gonna listen.
Hopefully,
suppose we have to.
All right. Well, all right. That pretty much wraps it up for us, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, really thanks for listening, everyone. This has been Pursuing Pixels, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Take care. Really? Looks like it's like right in your face from here.
How do I sound?
Maybe down a little bit.
Sound pretty decent.
Right there. Perfect.
How about this?
That sounds good.
Perfect.
What kind of richness?
Oh, pretty good DJ
what
richness.
Tax bracket am I in?
You're in the top, not 1%, but like top 10%.
I think you're in the filthy tax bracket, the filthy rich.